Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I thought tonight would be a really good time to do a different video because a lot of you guys have had questions about me, and so tonight I wanted to do something a little different. As you guys know, soon we will be visiting my parents, and that trip coming up prompted me to think about my childhood home, which is not the house that you guys are going to see when I go visit my parents, but it was the house that I grew up in. When I was in the 9th grade, we moved to Augusta, Georgia. My father was in the military. Everything seemed pretty normal. I would have been about 15 years old in the 9th grade, 14, 15, something around there, right? Like I said, we moved into this house. This was a brand new home. This was in a subdivision that was fairly new. I didn't really have any scary feelings about the house. I did sometimes feel uncomfortable, like when I was there by myself, but I think sometimes it's just how kids feel. I think that was just like a normal feeling to feel a little scared, like when you're home by yourself. Well, the story that I'm about to tell you, it didn't have anything to do with me being at home alone, which is crazy because I'm like, out of all the times that I've been left home alone, this didn't happen when I was home alone, but it did happen when I was the only one awake in my house. We had been visiting my grandmother and some of my uncles, and we would go visit my family, and we would stay like all day, and then we would end up coming back like late at night. So we would get back around like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so this particular night, we had got back pretty late. I need to mention that I had a great uncle that had passed probably 2 weeks before this visit. So 2 weeks before, my great uncle passed away. And I remember when he passed away, he kept saying that he was going to come back. He just kept saying it over and over and over. Is that possible? I don't know. But then I thought, well, maybe he's just like going in and out of like consciousness. Oh, I don't know. I couldn't really explain what was happening to him. I just kind of felt like maybe he wasn't all the way there, so he was just saying things, that maybe he didn't realize what he was saying. When he passed, I was terrified, and I was so scared that he was going to actually come back. 2 weeks later, we were visiting my family. We got back. It was late. It was about 10 o'clock at night. Everybody is tired. They're getting ready to go to bed. Usually my mom would stay up, right? Because she's like a night owl. But this particular night, she decided to go to sleep because she was tired. So the house was completely, totally quiet. And it was dark. And there was a night light that was in the hallway. And that was the only light that I had. I just remember laying in the bed, not going to sleep, just laying in the bed and just laying there and thinking like, I am just so terrified. I don't know if you've ever had something that happens to you that makes you really question if it even happened. But I mean, it happened, but you just can't. It doesn't make sense that it happened. You know what I'm saying? I'm laying in bed, and then all of a sudden, something squeezes my foot. Squeezes my foot. Till this day, I can still feel the feeling of a hand squeezing my foot. I got up out the bed, and I went to my brother's room, and I looked in there to see if they were awake. Both of them were asleep. Sound asleep. I was terrified. I got in the bed with my brother and I slept with him until the next day because I was just so scared. Sometimes I would wonder, like, who touched my foot that night? That wasn't the only time that something strange happened in that house. There was another time when I was laying in the bed and I was not asleep. I was just laying there with the covers like kind of over my face. So my mom was awake and she was watching TV, smoking a cigarette, and drinking a Pepsi like she normally does at night before she goes to bed. I'm laying in bed with the covers kind of over my face, but I can see in the hallway. And I see this see-through, like black and white ghost or whatever it was in the freaking hallway. And I looked, and I'm blinking, and I'm thinking that it's gonna just evaporate, but it doesn't. It's still there, long enough for me to be like, what am I looking at? What's going on? It was still there, and then it eventually left. That scared me to death. There was a time when I fell asleep in my parents' bed, and this was like after school, and I'm in my parents' room and I'm watching TV, and I just fall asleep. Sometimes your parents' bed just feels so cozy and just feels so good, you know? And of course, like I said, I hated my room and I did not like sleeping in my bed. So sleeping in my parents' bed just felt real comforting at that time. So I fell asleep, and then while I'm sleeping, I hear little children whispering in my ear, "Is she sleeping? Is she asleep?" They're laughing. "Is she asleep? She just fell asleep." I don't know. I jumped up and I left from out of my parents' room, and I never slept in their bed again. Never, ever, ever. Never. I was really excited to finally graduate high school and to be able to move out of my parents' house and start my own life, because I felt like I could leave that behind me. Only I didn't. My therapist will say like I'm a little clairvoyant. Maybe he's a little right. I don't know. I'm still learning. But when I was 19, I was stationed at Fort Riley, Kansas. And if you know anything about the military base at Fort Riley, Kansas, then you will know that it's very, 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 very haunted. Supposedly, it's supposed to be one of the most haunted military bases that there is. And back then, I was a military police officer. So being a military police officer meant that you had to work at night while everybody else was asleep in the bed. So I was a young MP. So listen, I was a young MP, right? 19 years old. Excited to work the road. I didn't work by myself because, I had to learn my job. So I was training with someone else. So me and my partner, we get this call from the desk to go check out this domestic dispute, right? A woman calls in that her husband and her are having an argument, and she's calling for assistance. We go to check it out. We get to the place. There's nobody there. Nobody's there. It's vacant. The school was notorious for the alarm going off. So we get a call from the station that says that you need to go check out the school because the school is coming up as it's unsecured, that it's unlocked. So an alarm is going off. So we go to check the school. It's not unlocked. It's actually locked. So we used to get that call a lot. Supposedly there's a little girl that passed away there that would set that alarm off. When we moved to Germany, that's when the most stuff happened. Like, when I sit back and think about it now, I'm like, yeah, it was really weird back then. It was really, really weird. At the time, I probably was like 21. And it was just me and my oldest kid at the time. My child at the time was about 6 months old. So I'm in Germany with the little baby by myself, and my husband isn't there yet, right? And me and my husband, when we first got married, we were having some issues. We were having issues. not major issues, but we were having like the normal trying to figure things out, trying to, when you're young and married, you know what I'm saying? When you're young and married, you're trying to blend your lives together. And at the same time, we were new parents. And I was stationed in Germany and he was still in Kansas. Being separated was a little hard. I remember I would read the Bible every single day because I had no TV. I had no cell phone. I didn't even have a phone in temporary quarters. I was located all the way at the top of this was like a long building that had like 3 apartment sections inside the building, and inside each apartment section there were like probably 6 apartments in one little section, and then you had a section at the top that was for temporary housing. So we would be all the way at the top. I had nothing except for a baby, and I had a Bible. I had pots, pans, all these temporary household goods that were holding me down until my actual household goods arrived. I would read that Bible every single day, and every single night I read the Bible. I would fall asleep reading the Bible. This one particular night, I had fallen asleep, and I hate falling asleep without having any covers over my face, because I told you, because of my childhood, I'm kind of scary now, you know what I'm saying? So you already know. I fell asleep, and I was on the bed, and my kid was laying next to me. There was somebody in the chair next to the bed who was talking to me in a very low voice. Whatever this was sitting in the chair, and it was very tall. It looked like Abraham Lincoln. That's how tall it was. Like, it looked like that monument, Abraham Lincoln. It was pretty tall. But some kind of way, it was sitting in that chair. And I was so scared. But it was talking to me, and it was like it knew me. It knew everything about me. It knew everything that I wanted. It knew everything about my husband. It knew about my kid. It even told me that it knew what kind of life I was going to have. And it wanted my husband's soul. It asked for his soul in exchange for me and my child to have a beautiful life without my husband. And I said, absolutely not. No, I'm not going to do that, I said. And when I'm speaking to this, whatever it is I'm speaking to, I'm speaking in tongue. And I know exactly everything that I'm saying. Whatever it was, laughed at me, called me a foolish girl, and said, you're going to see. I had a hard time sleeping after that. My husband finally joined us like a couple of months later, but I don't think I got any good sleep until he got there. I have another story for you. This happened in Germany. As I get older, it gets hard to remember the exact ages, but I just know that they were really young. And I had 2 kids at the time. So my husband was deployed. I went to bed. The kids are in the room across from me. And there's a crib in there. And then there's like a twin bed. And the twin bed can see like in the hallway. And then there's a bathroom that's also in between the bedrooms, right? This particular night, I fall asleep. And I am dreaming about my husband's oldest brother. And my husband's oldest brother had just passed away. And I had never seen him. Didn't know anything about how he dressed, what he looked like, how he sounds when he talks, or anything like that, right? He comes to me in the dream and he's laying on the bed, right leg up, left leg down, and he's kind of like positioned kind of like this, and he's giving me this message to tell his brother, and he's saying it was an accident, it's an accident. And then he has me up against the wall and he's like shaking me like this. So my husband ends up coming back home because we have to go to his brother's funeral. I tell my husband what happened in this dream, and my husband's like, what? He's like, he couldn't believe it, because he's like, you've never seen my brother, and you described him to a T. You know what I mean? What he looked like, what he was wearing, described him to a T. We get to DC. We go to the funeral. That night, I'm laying in the bed. I see his brother's spirit, ghost. I see him at the foot of the bed. He looks at me. He vanishes. If you're wondering what he looked like, gold pixie dust. Beautiful gold. Could see straight through him. But I remember it was all gold. There was someone with him, and he was at the end of the bed, and he was like holding his head down. And when he saw me look at him, he vanished, and it happened so fast that I questioned everything that I saw. But I know I had saw it. I know that was him. Years go by. I'm talking about many years go by. And my oldest kid at the time is like 25. She starts telling the story of something that she's seen when she was little and we were in Germany. And she says, I was really little. I remember something going into your room this particular night. Your room was across from mine. And I just remember something going in there, and I couldn't articulate or say what was going on. And I was just like, was it a coincidence? I'm thinking to myself. Or did we both encounter my husband's brother? Let's talk about something recent, right? I think it was last year. We went to Hard Labor Creek, me and my husband. And we went there just trying to just enjoy nature. And I thought it would be fun to go to the actual place where Friday the 13th Part 6 was filmed. And so we decided to go. I had no idea that Camp Rutledge was considered to be so haunted. We were actually staying in a cabin. The cabin was pretty scary as well. During the day, oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful place ever. Sometimes I think about it even now, and I wish that I could just go. But I remember being there and thinking, I will never, ever come back here again. Because I was that scared. At night, the woods take a turn for the worst. The woods are so scary at night. You don't even want to go out to your car. If you have anything in your car, you might as well just leave it there till the next day, because that's how scary it is. But like I said, during the daytime, beautiful. So beautiful. But at night, very, very scary. Very, very scary. Do your homework on Camp Rutledge, and you'll find out for yourself what I'm talking about. The first night, I did not sleep at all. And I know they say that it's just your instinct to stay awake the first night when you're away from home. But this felt a little different because I was hearing things at night. I heard someone mess with the blinds. There was no air moving up in there like that. Somebody was like messing with the blinds, and I heard it. You could hear movement. it sounded almost like we were overlapping another time and place, as if two worlds were happening at the same time. That's how it sounded. And if you were really, really quiet, like you could hear the footsteps, the movement of other people in that same area. The daytime was beautiful, but at night, no. The last story that I want to tell you about is about my grandmother, who passed away a couple of years ago. When I was young, she and we were pretty close. I remember when she had Alzheimer's. I remember something that she said to me that kind of hurt, because I didn't know at the time that a lot of times when people have Alzheimer's, dementia, they say things, they don't know what they're saying, they say mean things. And she said something mean to me and was mocking me, like was mocking the way I ate. And I don't know, I was just so upset. I hated to see her in that way. I kind of kept my distance, And not only that, but I was just so busy with work, and I know it's not an excuse, but working in a high stress environment, I did not really have the tolerance for anything. Like, I would just go to work, come home, go to sleep. Routine, same thing, just trying to survive. When it was time for me to retire, I remember my grandmother would come to me in dreams. It was always a dream where she was looking for me. And I kind of always just felt like that was my way of knowing that she was actively trying to get me to come to her so that she could go ahead and be at peace. I did see her. I saw my grandmother like in real life, because I had to go to another funeral. My grandmother was there. And I remember my grandmother looking at me. And I just remember her knowing exactly who I was. And it was like a part of her memory just kind of unlocked for a moment. And she knew exactly who I was. I want to say maybe about a year later that happened. She did pass, right? This is the weird part. I sleep with my phone on my nightstand, and the ringer is turned off. I remember being asleep, and I remember being awakened by my grandmother touching my arm. And she touched my arm under the covers. I felt her thumb, I felt her whole hand grab my wrist. And when she grabbed my wrist, I knew that she had taken her last breath, and I knew that she was gone. I had grabbed my phone, and my mom had just called me. She had just called me like a minute before that. But I knew that she was gone because she came to tell me to wake up. I just feel like there is so much more that happens when we pass. I just feel like our loved ones are always with us. I feel like we have guides that help us. I feel like our loved ones help us. I just do not feel like we are here alone. Even though you can't see your loved ones, you may not always feel them. They're there with you.